Mm. Okay. Copy. Welcome everybody. We're just setting up as usual. Be patient. Welcome to the show. Visual update. Hello, hello, hello. Just getting the link shared, folks. Okay. 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 It's time. Mm. Mm-hmm.
For some reason, my YouTube link isn't producing something. I guess I just have to tweet it out.
Yeah. Okay.
You want me to tweet out the phone number too?
Yeah.
Wait, don't give it to me yet. I have to, Twitter's giving me this, freezing everything again. Touch it, wait 20 seconds before any reaction. It only happens in Twitter, so I know it's intentional. Oh, they set it up to 30 seconds now.
Okay.
Oh, you're broadcasting? Okay, well. This shows you how difficult it is to work on Twitter when they don't like you. They just totally block your thing. I can't even write a tweet. They're blocking it completely. Okay, the phone number is,
+1
yeah,
785 672 9560.
okay. I got my tweet. Let's see, what else should I have? I say Save Lebanon live telethon.
Yeah.
Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund. I should best put that at the top.
Let's see. How do you spell telephone?
Telethon.
Right. Yep. Okay.
Okay, there we go. Uh-oh, I think I lost you.
Oh,
Can you hear me? Oh, you can still hear me? Okay, I was just afraid I accidentally lost the connection there. Wow, it took me 5 minutes to write one tweet because they blocked my interface.
alrighty. Now I just wait for people.
It didn't propagate the YouTube link. Normally they show it in the tweet, the YouTube link.
Mhm.
Okay, well, it's a correct link, but they won't be able to watch it through the tweet, which is unfortunate. That's deliberate on the part of Twitter.
Come on in, folks. Come on in. We're just setting up 9 minutes before we actually do this, 8 minutes before we do the show. So please come in. All right, go with it. Mm. Wow.
It'll be some moments because in 8 minutes they go on lunch hour in New York City. So
Mm-hmm. Oh, link share on LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter. Yeah, I can post this stuff on my blog. Okay. All right, it's on my Blogspot blog.
oh yeah, you know what? Let me embed that tweet on From Rome and tweet it out to everyone. That's right. I can do that.
I swear, ever since that one outage that lasted 3 hours in the night, our power hasn't been the same.
What is it? Flickers?
Yeah.
Some transformer between you and downtown has probably been semi-fried.
Should get some people that way.
Okay, so it's out to the 8,500 on Automilitaris Catholics' Twitter. And now it's out to the 2,000 there from Rome. And let me retweet this on, no, I won't have the memory to do that. Might have to link out maybe.
We're just getting the link shared, folks. I'm waiting for all you to decide to join us.
Okay, so. Okay, so.
Welcome, Miss Stefania. Thanks for watching. Or the lady from Spain.
Hola.
Let's put this sucker in the chat here.
Excuse me a sec, AJ.
Sì. Siete al cancello?
No, il nome sul citofono è B&B
B&B Veranda Fiorita. Veranda Fiorita. Sì. È un bed and breakfast, sì.
Sorry about that, AJ.
Yeah. Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yeah. She also says.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
No, you can't hear me.
I heard myself. Hello? There you go. I heard something.
Okay, sorry about that, AJ.
Said,
A
oh,
quite
I can.
inopportune phone call, and I'm surprised my phone rang because I turned it off. Okay,
She said,
so we're here today for the Save Lebanon telethon. And obviously, because of the great tragedy that took place in Beirut on the evening of the 4th of August, a week ago. Unbelievable, totally unexpected, unimaginable, without precedent in human history, and of this magnitude at least, and totally unexpected. And it took the world as much as a surprise as it took the people of Beirut. And so first in this telethon, which our goal is to solicit $5,000 in donations to the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund. We're already at nearly $9,000 in donations, and I think everyone has already given. And so first, some background on Lebanon, right, AJ?
Yeah. How far back you want to go?
You still can't hear me, AJ?
How far back you want to go?
Oh boy.
One moment, folks. His headphones are going wacko. Yeah, we're going to tell you a little bit about the headphone, not the headphones, but the history of Lebanon here. Pardon the technical difficulties.
Okay, I think I'm going to have to just use the one on my computer here. Can you
Okay.
hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, we might get some feedback. Hopefully we don't for our audience. Sorry, I got a very inopportune phone call and I should not have taken it, but it was one of those things I had to take. So go ahead, AJ, with your intro.
Okay. Let's see here. Let's let's do about the Middle Ages and during the history of Lebanon during about the Middle Ages was around the Arab rule. During the 7th century AD, the Muslim Arabs conquered Syria soon after the death of Muhammad, establishing a new regime to replace the Romans, or the Byzantines, as the Eastern Romans are sometimes called. Uh, they they tried to replace Christianity in that area, but the language was Syriac. But a group of Christians held out, and that would be the Maronite community. It and it maintained a large degree of autonomy despite the different rulers over Syria. Muslim influence increased greatly in the 7th century when the Umayyad capital was established at nearby Damascus. During the 11th century, the Druze faith emerged from a branch of Islam. The new faith gained followers in the southern portion of Lebanon. The Maronites and the Druze divided Lebanon until the modern era. Major cities on the coast, Acres, Beirut, and others, were directly administered by Muslim caliphs. As a result, the people became increasingly absorbed by Arabic culture. It is then we get into when the Crusaders came in to liberate Lebanon.
Yeah, so we're doing a little historical background so you know what Lebanon is. It's if you know where the Mediterranean is, you go to the easternmost coast of the Mediterranean, and right in the middle of that coast is the country of Lebanon. And it wasn't always called Lebanon. That's actually just a name for the mountains that are white in Persian. This was the coast of Syria, the Roman province of Syria. So the Maronites, the Christians of Lebanon, one of the few groups in the Mideast who have preserved the Christian faith despite 13 centuries of oppression and persecution by Islam, and mostly by hiding in the mountains, in the heights of the mountains. The mountains there go up very high, above 10,000 feet. And the Maronites especially have lived high in the mountains and in very poor places and hidden away places because the persecution was so bad. But when the Crusaders took Jerusalem and Antioch, the Christians of Lebanon were absolutely delighted at the advent of the Roman Catholic armies. And actually, I think it was the Maronites, Melkites, who led the Crusaders to Jerusalem and showed them the road. And they were staunch allies of the Latin kingdom for the entire time the Crusaders were there, which was until 1289. After 1289, Muslims come back to rule Lebanon, and the repression begins again, another 700 years. And wasn't until the modern time that Lebanon becomes independent. It comes independent in the Second World War. After the French government falls in France, the Vichy French government in Lebanon, in Syria, allowed the Lebanese to have their own elections. And the first thing the Lebanese did was vote for their independence. Now, they didn't get it then, but they got it shortly after. They're one of the original countries that signed the UN Charter and became part of the United Nations. And at that time, Lebanon was 60% Christian and 40% Muslim. But that was considered intolerable by the Masonic order and by the Islamic world. So Lebanon has been targeted for destruction, abuse, and destabilization by almost every country in the Mideast. It doesn't really have any friends. And even France, which is supposed to be its Western ally, being a completely Masonic nation, has only tried to further that. So There was the Civil War. There was the Civil War in the 60s. There was this, then with the Palestinians losing all the wars they fought and all the Arab wars against Israel, the Palestinians came to dwell in Lebanon. Lebanon's become a dumping ground for refugees. So first it was the Palestinians who agitated and the PLO agitated in Lebanon against Israel and caused a whole bunch of problems. And that caused a war between the Christian militia and the PLO. And that was the Civil War. And to get help for the Christians, the president of the country asked Syria to help. But Syria didn't come in to help. Syria came and invaded and occupied the country for more than 10 years. And that greatly destroyed the economic prosperity of Lebanon. Lebanon was considered like the Riviera of the Mediterranean in the 60s, when its future was bright, and it was considered the most Western of all the countries, and it was ruled by Christians, predominantly Christian, and because the Lebanese are excellent businessmen in finance and stuff, so they're not a backward people technologically, culturally. But after the Syrian occupation, Syria pulled out, and then Hezbollah came in, and Hezbollah's occupied the whole southern country because Iran doesn't border Israel. So Iran wants a border with Israel so they can harass Israel as part of their geopolitical, giving themselves a sign of identity or dignity in their own mind. And Hezbollah's taken over the whole south of the country. And what Hezbollah does is they come in and they start taking land, stealing houses. They'll come to your door at night with guns. And if you don't get out by morning, you won't be found. And they've occupied lots of parts of Lebanon, and they muzzled their way into the government and into the control of all the ports. They were the ones in control of the Beirut port where the explosion took place. And they control the government through terror and political influence and bribery. And no one in Lebanon wants them there, okay? The Hezbollah Shia, okay, they're allies of Iran. Northern Lebanon is Alawite, so they tend to be the same religion as the ruling government in Syria. The rest of Lebanon's Muslims are Shia and Sunni mixed. And the Christians there are Catholics, the Maronites and the Melkites, the Greek Orthodox, who are the Melkites who are not united with Rome, the Armenians of Cilicia, the Catholic Armenians, and also the Orthodox Armenians, and many of whom are emigres from Russia, and or from the diaspora time of the persecution by the Turks. And then there's a very small amount. Then there's the Druze, which is more religious classification than an ethnic one. The Lebanese people are not Arabs, okay? They are Phoenicians, the ancient mercantile state of Phoenicia. And they colonized all places around the Middle East, even made colonies in Sicily. And I have distant ancestors on my mother's side who are part Phoenician. So I have a little Lebanese blood in me, but it's probably really tiny. But from the Sicilian connection. So, however, once Islam took over Syria, when the deserts of Saudi Arabia were driving up and they did their jihad to conquer the world, the Arabs poured into Lebanon because they lived in a land of completely desert. And Lebanon is fruitful. There's lots of rivers. It's a beautiful country. It's near the ocean. The climate's nice. The land is very productive. Yeah. So now if you meet a Lebanese, even a Christian one, he's more apt to say that he's an Arab, not a Phoenician, because if they say that they're Phoenicians, they'll likely be picked off to be murdered by the Arabs. And so many of them have forgotten their culture, and even many Christians have converted to Islam just to end the persecution, because the persecution is constant. It's kind of like in the United States, if you live in Utah, every week someone will ask you to become a Mormon, but at least the Mormons won't threaten you with death. But in Islam, it's going to be every week, and they'll be threatening you with death. So the Christians who have kept the faith there have practiced heroic fortitude.
Yeah. You made a mistake about the Civil War. It wasn't the 60s, the 75 to the 90s.
Okay, excuse me. 75 to the 90s. So
it's our friend from Spain caught it. So,
Yeah, I was referring to the other political strife in the 60s. It wasn't really a civil war, but
oh, how many have died so far from the blast?
okay, so the current count is at 220, and it's gone up 70 in the last few days, probably because people dying of victims. Let's talk about the blast. So there was 2,700 thousand. There's 27. I mean, there's 2,700 metric tons of ammonium nitrate.
Mm,
It's used as a fertilizer. It's used also as a chemical and explosive manufacturer.
mhm.
That was left in the port because of a political dispute between a Russian company, Ukrainian boat, and the port authorities, and stored in a warehouse and just left there instead of just being, you know, give it to someone and get it out of the country. So once Hezbollah got control of the port, they're like, oh, we're in charge of this huge stockpile of ammonium nitrate that we can use to make bombs. So it's like, you know, child in a candy shop, I suppose.
Yeah.
Now it's clear that Hezbollah was digging tunnels under that storage facility and hiding all kinds of armaments there.
Mhm.
Because I guess they figured no one's going to bomb our facility if there's all this ammonium nitrate on top, because it would destroy the whole city. And then someone's also stored fireworks in that building. So here we have the perfect recipe for an absolute disaster.
Yeah.
2016, I think, or maybe it was 18, Netanyahu of Israel actually pointed to that storage facility and says he knew that Hezbollah has missiles stored there. And just 4 days before the explosion, the Israeli Defense Foreign Ministry said that if Hezbollah tried anything against Israel, they would destroy Hezbollah infrastructure. So now we have the perfect recipe for political or military disaster.
Mhm.
It is said the fireworks caught fire. But while the explosions were going on, the initial firework kind of fire, and all the news reporters were saying it's a fireworks caught fire. It's pretty obvious it wasn't fireworks. It was small arms rounds going off. AJ, you can comment on that.
Yeah. I mean, if it was fireworks, you would, see them launching, and through the haze, you'd see the splashes of light they'll make, like I see at a 4th of July celebration, or what we have here in the June. If no one actually bought the fear of the COVID, large fireworks display just in the haze of the smoke, it would shine through the smoke, but you didn't see that. You just saw. So, what type of fireworks were they? What type of fireworks were they?
Mhm.
Were they just noisemakers,
Mhm.
or were they actual bullets?
Yeah, and the smoke of the original fire was all blacks, and I don't think that qualifies for fireworks. He's not the kind I've seen in Italy. Um, but why would you store so many fireworks right in that same facility? So the thing is that any foreign agent could have walked by that warehouse and thrown in a cigarette butt, and the whole thing would have gone off. There's all this speculation that there was a missile strike, that a plane flew by or drone flew by. Okay, what actually happened, we don't know, but it's not really necessary to hypothesize that something actually flew by and started the fire. We have all the possible incendiaries in the same spot.
Mm-hmm.
But once that fire began in the small arms, and it was very capable of leading to something else.
And that I found out that ammonia nitrate, once the fire starts, that fire will get about 2,400 degrees.
Yeah, it burns very
rapidly.
hot. It burns very hot. The thing of the way it was stored, though, with one bag next to another in an open facility, it would not explode. It would just catch fire. It only explodes if it's in a contained area, or if it's impacted by an explosion of great force that compacts it all at once and heats it up. I want to thank the donation that just came in from, we don't identify our donors by name in Order Militaris, but I want to thank the $50 donation that was sent just moments ago, and also the $100 that came in just before the program began. So our goal is 5,000. We're now 4,950. Okay, so if you're listening to this program, please be generous. So, a weapons expert in Italy says the first explosion with the mushroom cloud, that smoke, that's red brick, is clearly shows the metal lithium is present, and that's used as explosives in missiles, surface missiles. So that's more than likely what the arms cache of Hezbollah blew up first. And it was their missile depot that blew up. Now, I can't imagine they had it stored anywhere near the ammonium nitrate or the fireworks. And I can't really imagine if the fireworks only small amounts that it would create enough fire to heat up the ground and cause missiles to explode down beneath, nor that the munitions would have caused that unless they had hand grenades stored there in quantity above ground that with one explosion after another caused the tunnels to collapse and the fire to get down there where the missiles are stored. Who's to say how they had the missiles stored there? We don't quite know. There's a crater in the ground now, so it's all evidence is gone. So the missiles didn't blow up one after another. They all blew up at the same time. And that is kind of suspicious.
It seems like then it would have had to been, someone went into that tunnel, planted devices on those missiles.
Yeah, and used the fireworks as a cover to kind of explain it away. That seems very probable because you blew them up, in an absolutely clear day, people would say, obviously it was blown up by someone. But if you start a fire with fireworks and let it go on and spread, then you already have a device under there that's timed and ready to go. Then you can make it look like one goes to the other. However, that was the trigger because the explosion of the missiles of itself would have hardly damaged anything, okay? It weren't that many missiles, it wasn't that powerful. But the explosion caused a shock wave and a heat wave immediately under and in the vicinity of the ammonium nitrate, igniting it so that it went up in a flash like that. And that's why when you're watching the videos, you see first the mushroom cloud, then all of a sudden you see the sky turns clear. It's kind of like an egg shape of cloud around the thing. That is the shock wave going through the atmosphere towards the camera, compressing the humid air of the Mediterranean. So, and then it passes by the camera and you see the whole explosion. Yeah. And that was the explosion of ammonium nitrate, which was probably not 2,700 metric tons. It had already been whittled away by Hezbollah stealing quantities of it.
Okay, Smitty, thanks. Keep listening, bud. Smitty's listening at work in Canada. So.
Okay, thanks, Smitty. And we're doing a telethon, so we're hoping to raise $5,000 for the victims of the explosion in Beirut. We've already received $50, and as they come in, I'll tell you they come in because I get immediate notification. So
the link to donate's in the very top chat message. So go to the link there and just be generous.
And you can donate in about 12 different ways in 30 different currencies. So whether you have Apple Pay, Google Pay, or Google Bitcoin wallet, or whether you have Visa, MasterCard, Diners Club, whether you want to do a bank wire from Europe using Softfort, or you're in the Netherlands and you use Ideal, you can pay right from the bank. So, or you have a PayPal debit card, or you have any other kind of debit card. Those are all different ways. And if you want to donate in cash, you could buy Google Pay credits in cash, put them on your cell phone, and then you can donate using Google Pay. So there's all different ways to donate to this fund. And I thank those who have already donated $9,000. Now we're at 9,000. So. the purpose of the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund, it's a humanitarian fund created by Ordo Militaris Inc., a Montana security and humanitarian services corporation, organized to defend Christians who are persecuted and victimized by persecution, where security and defense and humanitarian aid is needed. And we were founded in 2016 in Wyoming, and in 2017 we moved to Montana because the law is a bit more friendly there. And 2017 we did our first fundraiser for refugees from the Syrian civil war, and that was at El Ka in Lebanon, northern part of Lebanon, and we raised $5,500, and that money was distributed to the refugees by the pastor there, the Melkite Catholic pastor of El Ka, who was very grateful to have it and couldn't believe that money was coming from the United States from an organization that he didn't even ask for money. But we had read the news reports that were in several news agencies confirming that he had a lot of refugees in his town. He had no way to take care of them. And we just bank wired it to his account of the parish. And because as a Catholic organization, we choose Catholic organizations to give our funds to if we don't have people on the ground. So this is our second major. We did do a fundraiser for the refugees in Mosul as soon as it was liberated from ISIS. And we've had helped small projects, one in India, a Catholic school in India, and one a Catholic parish in Hawaii, Catholic religious orders who are persecuted legally, things like that, different small projects like that. And priests who have been persecuted, we've helped a couple of priests who have been persecuted. Yeah. So this humanitarian relief fund is for the victims of this explosion, which are not there's 220 dead. There's more than 6,000 injured. There's more than 80,000 children left without a home. There's more than 300,000 people now without a home. And the city is devastated. If you look at the extreme blast zones, it's the entire city of Beirut, okay? The whole city has been, in its core area, has been rendered pretty much uninhabitable. The Armenian quarter was most heavily hit. And all kinds of organizations around the world are rushing to take advantage of it because land in the Mideast is considered the highest valuable. And Muslims are very intent on occupying land, even more than Christians, because their religion regards control of this world, but ours is about the world to come. But nevertheless, Lebanon's a Christian country. And
hold on, folks. We're having a little trouble here with Brother Alexis. So yeah, we are raising funds for the people there, and every cent we raise will be sent to them. And so we are currently at 9,000, I believe, and
I guess our sense today is a Muslim. He didn't like what I said. Okay. So we want to raise $5,000. We're at $49.50 to go. So if you haven't yet given to the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund, please come to the ordo-militaris.us and go to the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund link. I'll go to that link there in the chat box on this video now and make your contribution. Food in Lebanon is as expensive, or actually slightly more expensive than it is here in Italy, where I am. And Italy's prices are pretty much equal to the United States. On certain items, meat is much higher here, pasta is lower. But half the population of Lebanon makes less than $4 a day. And with $4, you can buy 12 eggs and a pound of flour in Lebanon. That's all you can do with it. And that's not counting rent you have to pay. Rent in Lebanon, I'm looking at, it's like $1,600 for an apartment. And how could you pay $1,600 a month if you only have an income of $1,200 a month? Oh no, $120 a month. So as you can see, the people who have been made homeless in that city We're going to have a hard time surviving this winter.
Yeah. And it's just, and we are also looking at just property. And you found this one historic place, beautiful. But it needs a lot of work, but they are probably asking way too much.
Yeah, I'd say the prices on real estate for someone who's a victim of this explosion has lost their house, and they're going to want to rent or buy something. Renting is just, you can't rent because all the new construction in Lebanon is for vacationers that come to the ocean in the summertime. So there are apartments and buildings facing or near the ocean. That's new. All the new construction is, and that for a small apartment you pay $200,000, $290,000. So there's no way these people could buy. Now, if you even want to rent, then you're looking at $1,200, $1,500 a month rent. Okay, and that is as high as major cities in Italy. Not as high as Rome. Rome is higher, more expensive. So where are these people going to go? Now, the city has been destroyed, and windows up to 15 miles away were blown out. So that means everyone's windows, even beyond the borders of the city, were wiped out. And that's a lot more than 300,000. That's probably a couple 100,000 more. But the people in the city, their homes, even if they look like they're standing, they're going to be structurally unsound because that shockwave came by with such force that it's going to break masonry. In Lebanon, their houses are built out of concrete and concrete block or clay block. And concrete is an excellent material to take the weight of gravity. Forces in this direction against concrete don't touch concrete. Concrete's very strong in the vertical direction. But horizontally, concrete is one of the weakest substances. You put a shock against the concrete wall, it will crack very easily. It will crack easier than wood because wood is resilient, but masonry just breaks. So those buildings are all going to be structurally unsound. We're talking about several kilometers worth of buildings that will have to be torn down, square kilometers, will have to be torn down to the ground and rebuilt because they won't be safe. Okay. And that's going to take far more than a year. I don't see any movement from the nations to start sending construction crews in there. And there won't be anyone to help these people with their financing. Even if they were renting in that building, their landlord's been wiped out financially, and who will end up living there. So these people might be out of home forever. They might have to leave the city and never come back. But right now, where are they going to live? They're living on the streets. I have seen no reports of refugee camps being erected. Even Red Cross went there and started sending up medical mats. They didn't go there with airplanes full of materials for refugee camps. I didn't see anything. No one's even addressed where these 300,000 people have gone. You know, unless they're living in a building without windows, it's completely cracked and could fall down at any moment. That's just not acceptable.
Yeah. So. Now there's was it a day or 2 days after the people began to rise up and it's like, we're tired of you, tired of your corruption, tired of your nonsense. And the first ones to resign asked all the honorable people to resign because of all this nonsense was the Christian party members of the Catholic party. We cannot support what's going on here. Lebanon needs to be free and independent.
Unfortunately, Lebanon has a democracy, and as Saint Anthony Marie Claret said, in a Catholic monarchy, the worst part of the wine goes to the bottom of the cup. But in a democracy, the worst part of the wine floats to the surface. And this is the problem with modern Masonic kind of structured governments. The people who are greedy, power hungry, megalomaniac, they all are motivated to grab that power and govern your country. And that's why modern democracies are some of the worst governments in human history. But now the Lebanese people have realized that, look, unless the honest people push themselves forward and run for office and take control, the country is just going to go down the toilet. I mean, I think a lot of Lebanese would agree with me if I say right now that Lebanon's already gone down the toilet, okay?
Mhm.
And now the direction has to be changed, or it's going to become like the West Bank in Israel, completely failed state and destroyed. And there's really no reason for this, because there are a lot of Lebanese in the world who are very wealthy people. As an anthropologist, I think the problem in Lebanon is the Lebanese are so divided among themselves. There's no concept of Lebanon is my fatherland, my nation, my loyalty is to Lebanon. No, I'm a Maronite, I'm loyal to the Maronite community. I'm a Melkite, I'm loyal to the Melkite community. I'm a Sunni, I'm loyal to the Sunni community. I'm an Alawite. So it's like, okay, so the borders were drawn by France. They weren't drawn by any of these people. And no one has enough power to make any decision to change anything. So in the current form of government, the president is a Christian, Maronite, a Catholic, the president. The Speaker of the House is, get this right, I think he's a Sunni.
Next one's a Shiite.
Then the Prime Minister is a Shiite, and then the deputy speakers of House and Senate are Greek Orthodox. So they balance it out that way. And I guess that forces them to come to a certain sort of agreement, but it's not going. I can tell you, it's not going to work out. Why? Because all these groups have totally different visions of what is good, what is true, and what is honest, or how to comport yourself in public, or how to love your people, or even how to be a father. So how are they going to come to agreement on anything? And so that is where corruption comes in, because when there's irreconcilable differences, the only thing that's going to convince people is money passing under the table, and that's corruption. Okay? And that's the history of Lebanon. As a Christian, I think the Christians could rule Lebanon best, because if you are a Christian as a ruler, you're not going to persecute people of other religions, okay, or of other cultures, or of other languages. You're going to be honest and a good father to everyone, because that's your duty as the ruler of your country. That's the kind of Christian rulers we need everywhere in the world, but I think Lebanon would really profit by that. Voting for corrupt Christians would be the worst thing to do. They give a bad name to Christians and they don't solve the problem. So I don't see any really new parties sprouting up. I haven't heard news, but maybe that we'll see that in the next few months. But if the same political parties put forward their candidates in the next election, I think you're going to get the same result. The government doesn't work, you know.
Yeah.
And, very sad.
So the most of the government has resigned, the prime minister, the others, but there's still some who's still making it work, holding it together while whatever's going on is going to happen. It would be really nice if, you know, all the entire Christian community of Lebanon would come together, bury the hatchet, work together, form a united Christian government for Lebanon. That is what is needed.
Yeah, that's what is needed. If you're going to save your country, you got to work together. And you have to work for the saving of the whole thing, okay? And that just can't take place unless there's unity.
Mm-hmm.
And don't put your trust in parties that are Marxist, socialist, fascist, or any of these crazy ideologies which aren't Christian, because they'll never want to save the country. They'll always want to milk the country for their own political party. So you really need a Christian patriotic party.
Hopefully you're watching it on Twitter at ordo-militaris.net on our Lebanon show page. Hopefully you're watching it on the Voice of My Ancestors blogspot blog. Hopefully you're watching it on the From Rome blog. Only shows 2 right here directly on the channel, but hopefully you are watching everywhere on these different places and on my Facebook account, on Jordan's Facebook account. Thank you for sharing there. If you have a question, you're going to have to come to the chat, or they can tweet to you if Twitter allows it. You can tweet to Brother Alexis at Militaris Cath. Ask your question there. If you have any questions for today's topic, please ask in the chat as well, chat box here on YouTube. Everyone's welcome to join us, and thank you to the 5 who are now onto the channel.
Yeah, I want to reply to the tweet that was sent to Militaris Cath by Katerina Alessandra, who says, "Why are you running a telethon? The telethon organization is a notorious group of fraudsters. I ask you give a public reply to my question." Let me reply to Katerina Alessandra in English, first of all. I think it's outrageous that you should associate us with fraudsters, okay? Have a little understanding that in English, the word telethon might mean something other than you think it means in Italian, okay? Telethon in English is just a generic term for a live program to raise funds, okay? I responded to Katerina in Italian on Militaris Cath, but I think that is really an outrageous thing to say. If you don't trust the people you know in social media, I mean, come on, what kind of a Christian you are? To tweet out something like that as an attack is outrageous for the cause that we're doing. I really don't appreciate it. It's very offensive. It's like earlier today, we got a tweet from someone in South Africa that said, since we're raising money for Lebanon, we're supporting Muslims. And he doesn't want to be part of that kind of order militaris. Well, the guy's not even a member of order militaris, so why is he pretending to be one? And second of all, he's completely ignorant if he thinks everyone in Lebanon is a Muslim.
Yeah.
Or that we would raise money for Muslims. Well, our organization is to help Christians. Why would you even imply we're raising money for Muslims? So it's just a nasty antisocial comment. That's what that you act like that on social media. You're acting like a troll, not as a Christian. Okay.
Yeah.
And outrageous. Excuse me for making these comments, but it's just that you try to do good, and you have these people out there who just want to see evil in everyone. I guess that's all they want to see is evil in everyone. They can't see good. So if you're a good person out there and you recognize good for good, please make a donation to the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund through the link in the first, at the top of the chat box there in video, or in any place you're seeing this video link through the Twitter thing. And we're trying to raise $5,000 in this hour. We're already at 42 minutes. We've only raised $50. So those listening in, if you haven't made a donation, please do so.
What would happen if those homeless people somehow figure out how to scrounge up enough money and they left Lebanon? What would happen to the country?
Well, first of all, I don't think they can leave Lebanon. With all the COVID-19 controls, where would they go?
Yeah.
And no country has offered to take them in. And what I think is these people aren't going to want to leave Lebanon. It's their city is destroyed. They're going to want to come back to their city and rebuild their city. But who's going to help them? Greedy bankers, Masonic countries like France. You know what Macron said? Now is the time to change Lebanon. Well, when someone like Macron says now is the time to change anything, watch out. So they're like vultures circling over a corpse, you know. The horse has come down, horse of Lebanon has been knocked on its feet. Now it's time to cut it up. I think that's the view of it. President Trump has announced he'll send aid, massive support, but will that ever materialize in time? I think the British are sending some engineers to figure out how do we build the port, but that's because Beirut has to be rebuilt, because if any major power wants a war in the Mideast, they need to use the harbor of Beirut. So I think that's their only real reason to want to rebuild the port of Beirut. And if Lebanon had any good friends, they would have helped much more quicker and much more strongly. And I don't see it. Even the aid conference that was run by Macron with Trump, they raised 250 or 290 million in pledges. I mean, a billionaire could give that much. Do you have to have heads of nations? They raise a few pennies. I mean, and that's because they know Lebanon has so many Christians and they don't want to help Christians. Okay. And you got a stronger response from Qatar, Kuwait, and countries of the Gulf, from the Muslim nations, than you've gotten from any of the Masonic Western nations. And I think even the Vatican only donated 250,000, which is like a drop in the bucket. And I haven't heard what Catholic Charities has done. I haven't even seen an appeal yet from, is Catholic Charities running an appeal in the United States?
Oh.
Is the Knights of Columbus doing anything?
Nope.
No. So are any of the big talking heads in the Catholic speaking world even talking about the disaster of Lebanon or raising?
No.
So none of them, none of the big ones on Twitter. We're the only group on Twitter that, if among Catholics, that's not Lebanese, that's doing something.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so this shows you, if you're listening to our program, how much you need to help us out. People are going to say, well, why is your organization raising money? No one else is doing it. That's why we're raising the money. And we've been out there before in Lebanon helping years ago. And we were founded 4 years ago. This is our work. So I know some people are going to get jealous. Oh, you're raising all that money. I would prefer that money to go to me. Well, I'm sorry. If you're on social media running yourself as a business, passing yourself off as an apostolate and taking all the money so you can live in a mansion, you'll have to answer before Almighty God in the hour of your death. But neither AJ and I get a penny. Order Militaris has no paid employees. The money will go to help the victims of this disaster in Beirut and to charitable organizations in Beirut. So I encourage you to make a donation and to be generous. I myself, I don't have an income, but benefactors give me money to pay my expenses. I've donated 1,000 of that to the Beirut Fund. And I'm saying to everyone out there who has a bank account or has a pension fund, who has stocks, do what I did. Donate $1,000 to the pension, to the Humanitarian Relief Fund. And I want to thank the other 3 men who did that already. And they will make this be able to do something significant for the victims and the Christians of Beirut. And if not, if you don't have those things, then donate at least $100 US for the needs of the people, because we're going to have a lot of needs of food, clothing, housing, okay, medical expenses, and together we can create a humanitarian relief effort that will represent Christians in the West in a way that is going to help Christians. These monies aren't going to go to rebuild the churches. They're not going to go in the hands of the diocese for rebuilding churches. That's not the purpose of our organization. It's going to the victims, okay? And to help actual people who have become homeless or have been injured, okay? And so that's the uniqueness of our organization. We're not tied to the hierarchy, although we are a Catholic organization. We're not tied to any political or national government. And so we can act truly in the interest of the victims. So I think your support of the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund is something that is just the best kind of thing, something that I think one of the best options you have right now. UNICEF is making sure all the children get vaccines, and Red Cross set up field hospitals after everyone's already been to the hospital. A lot of groups are going there and want to be seen. one organization I saw, they tweeted out and they did a video because they donated 25 pounds of pasta and flour to people. Well, I thank God they're doing something, but 25 pounds of food is not really worth tweeting out on, okay?
Do you even eat pasta over there?
Oh yeah, the Lebanese, I once ran into a busload of pilgrims from Lebanon here 10 years ago in Italy, and they were eating pasta throughout their pilgrimage. They love Italian pasta and Italian sauce. So now a lot of groups have just started raising funds for Lebanon. We were the first group. Within 12 hours, we established our humanitarian relief fund because we are a humanitarian relief organization. But the others then started popping up, and you have all kinds of groups that are not Christian, that don't care anything about preserving the Christians, have not even intended they're going to help Christians, have not said they're going to help Christians, and haven't promised you they'd help Christians, who are rushing to be on the scene with their hands out like that, give us money. Will it end up helping these people? Will it help rebuild a Christian Beirut? I doubt it. I doubt it. I doubt it highly. And there are big Masonic newspapers like the New York Times, LA. They want you to know where to send your money because they don't want you to send your money to a Christian organization. And there are a lot of Protestant groups rushing there, and there are some Protestants in Lebanon, but you know what they're going to do with their money. It's not going to be promote Catholicism. It's going to be promote Protestantism. Mm-hmm. So yes, we are the only Catholic organization independent that's doing it, and we're the only one on Twitter and social media that's begun a campaign. But that's because this is what we're about. This is what we were inspired to do. This is the work we were asked by our Lord to do, and this is why we're doing it and why we do it the way we do. So other than the fees charged by Stripe to receive your donation, 100% what you donate will go, because we don't have administrative expenses in Order Militaris. So not like, I think Catholic Charities takes 5 or 10%. Red Cross takes like 40% of your donation. Any organization that's going to go on television, they're paying 40% to the ad company to run the money and answer the phones. And so a lot of your money is not going to end up there. It'll end up enriching a lot of other people. So if you want to help the Christians of Beirut, please consider the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund as a viable option.
And where can they go to donate? What's the link?
So you can find the link there in the chat box of this video. Okay, but and I think you put it in the notes for that. But if you're watching through Twitter or through From Rome Info or other social media platform, go to Ordo, O-R-D-O -Militaris, just like you see behind AJ's head there, MILITARIS .US, and right as the page opens up, after you press accept cookies, there's a link to the fund. Click that, and you can make your donation right there. Choose your currency first, and then set your amount, and it will take you through the process. And you can make a donation without giving us your address, okay? Because we're not going to write you back in 6 months at your email address and ask you for another donation. We're not that kind of an organization. We don't contact you back, okay? But with the number of donations getting on this appeal, we don't have the staff to even send you a thank you letter, so I apologize for that. But that's because we don't have paid employees. So the kind of organization sends you a mailing every month for the next 5 years after you make a donation of $10. You know that your $10 didn't go for what they asked it for the staff and the machinery to keep asking money.
Yeah. I want to thank all those who've come by the channel and liked the video, and hope you're watching it on Twitter, Facebook, Blogspot, the radio channel, website, From Rome website, Twitter. Yeah. And please donate. Please, please, please donate. How many hours a day do I have to spend tweeting to you?
Yeah, AJ, you've done a wonderful task tweeting to a lot of people and get them out. And I want to thank two personal friends of my own, one who sent it to a list of benefactors in California, another to a list of people all around the Northeast, and to get the word out. Because though we have 9,000 followers just on Twitter, most of them are not allowed to see our tweets. So, and I want to thank everyone from Rome.info who reads and who have made donations, which has been about 20 or 30 of you, and I thank you for that. But many of you who read from Rome.info have not yet made any donation to help the Christians of Lebanon, and I plead with you to think of their needs if you're capable of making even a small donation. If you can only afford $10, you make a $10 donation. So, but to people on social media, and a lot of follow us, the death of all these people, the destruction of the city hasn't even changed their tweeting. They're still tweeting about, you know, everything that's going on in their part of the world. It just hasn't touched them. And I think that's sad to see. As Christians, we should have a heart that feels the pain in the mystical body all around the world. That's what it means to be a Christian Catholic. And we need to.
I want to. Remember when St. Paul was knocked off his horse and blinded, and our Lord said, "Why do you persecute me?" He's like, "I'm not persecuting you, I'm persecuting your followers." No. It affects him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it's a good chance that where St. Paul was knocked off the horse was inside modern, what the territory we now call modern Lebanon. Not absolutely certain, but it's possible. So, you know, you have to decide in life what you're going to be. Are you going to be a Christian, or are you just going to be the mediocre, do nothing citizen who says he's a Christian but never acts it? Here's a chance for you to atone for a lot of your sins, because our Lord says if you give of alms, he cleanses your soul of many sins, and to act like a true Christian for people who have just been devastated and really will have no one to help them, okay? Because they're surrounded by crooks, thieves, and all kinds of powers that just want to kick them off the land. And a lot of people will just want the Christians to leave. That's what the Muslim world wants. They want Christians to leave the Islamic world. And it's always been that way. I mean, just look at the Christians. It's been an absolute tragedy in Iraq. 1.5 million Christians have been reduced down to 200,000, 200,000 or 300,000. And the West didn't even shed a tear. And even Trump blocked them emigrating to the United States.
Yeah.
Said he'd do the opposite. So they had no one to help them, and they were decimated. Now, is this going to happen to the Christians of Lebanon now? Are we going to see effective genocide step by step in this reconstruction? We Catholics need to come to their aid, and that's the purpose of Ordo Militaris Catholicus, to come to the aid of Christians who are being persecuted. And if someone blew this bomb up intentionally in the port there, that's an act of terrorism. And they knew they'd kill a lot of Christians, so it was an act of anti-Christian persecution too.
So once again, go to ordo-militaris.us. You'll see it there on the home page. Click the blue link. That'll take you right to the Donate Relief Fund area. Select your currency. Select your different types of way of making the donation. All those different choices. And be generous, please.
And I thank everyone who's given a donation. Our appeal for the Beirut Humanitarian Fund is going to continue all through August and September in the fall, because these people's suffering is not going to end. And so if you want us to succeed and you want to help, the best thing you can do is take the link to any one of these programs about the Humanitarian Fund, or any of our tweets that you feel is most evocative or touching about this, and share it on Facebook, share it on Instagram, share it on Telegram, share it on VK, share on any social media platform you have or participate, any forum you might participate, and ask and tell others about its existence, and ask them to make a donation too. because pretty soon we're going to exhaust the channels that are normally in communication with us, and we don't want to do that. But the message needs to get out, and you, through all the people you know, you are a doorway to potential contacts that can really help save the Christians of Beirut that we can't do on our own. AJ and I are just two, and we can tweet out. We have a reach of maybe 10,000 in social media, but all of you together have a reach that goes to the levels of like 100 million, because there's 10,000 of you, and you can your tweet shared with friends, or your social media message shared with friends, can touch thousands of people, just you. And if everyone listening to this program and all our followers on social media share these appeals for the Beirut Humanitarian Fund, we can raise a substantial amount of money to help the Christians of Beirut. But if your heart remains closed, a lot of people who would like to give will never know about this. And the people of Beirut, the Christians of Beirut, will be robbed of that humanitarian aid that would have come if only you had opened your heart and shared this message with everyone you know. So I ask you, I'm not just making an optional thing. I ask you, this is the most serious thing, is to share the message. All of you, especially who can't afford making a donation, that's not an excuse. Share the message. And I have not yet seen a lot of people sharing the message. Our main tweets get only about 60 retweets. We have 9,000 followers on Twitter. What's the other, 8,400 doing? Why aren't you retweeting that? Okay. Doesn't cost you anything to retweet. Are you embarrassed to ask money for Christians who have been made homeless, who have had glass shards smashed into their face at 600 miles an hour? I mean, does that not touch your heart? So please share this on social media and ask everyone you know who likes and hears about it to also share it. Because if you can't afford donating, you certainly can afford to share it. It's not a controversial topic. You're not going to lose friends for asking help for humanitarian assistance.
And we are recording this show, folks, so we can put it up on BitChute, so you can share it wherever. And the audio of this show, God willing, whenever Mixcloud will take it, it'll be up there. Because who knows how long it'll take them to allow it, but it will be there whenever it's done.
Mm-hmm. Any questions in the chat box there, AJ?
No.
Okay. Well, I thank all those who have listened and all who will be listening to the show after it's live. And please make a donation to the Beirut Humanitarian Relief Fund and help our Catholic order help Christians who have suffered this horrible fate in Beirut and rebuild their lives and to defend Christian Lebanon as a Christian land and homeland.
All right. This is Order Militaris Radio TV signing off. Deus Volt.
Deus Volt.